I want you to think back about when you were in school. The younger, the better. If you can picture maybe your kindergarten class, first grade, maybe second grade, if you can, whichever one you can remember most vividly, try to put yourself there. If there was one out of the three classes that you remember specifically a problem child, zoom in on that memory, that image, that vision. Maybe you were the problem child. Think about trying to have a normal class routine. The teacher, the teacher trying everything he or she can to just keep the attention of all the students. But you've got that one problem child who needs the chaos, needs the disruption, needs the attention. Now she's not saying, give me the attention. I need the attention. Those words aren't coming out, but their behaviors demand the attention of the teacher and the peers. Now, teachers respond to that student differently. Now, I think it's somewhat based off of the time period. Times have changed throughout the years, but I think it also depends a lot on the individual teacher. Sometimes the teacher will ignore that student and just put the focus and the attention on the kids that are paying attention and are involved and engaged in the activity. Sometimes the teacher will put almost all of their energy into appeasing that student. Here, if I give you this, will you just sit here and let me teach? If I just give you this coloring book, if I give you this toy, if I just give you whatever it is you're looking for just a few moments, will that allow me to put my focus and attention on the class, on the kids that are engaged, ready to learn? And sometimes that will work until the kid feels like, I need something else. This isn't working anymore. I need your attention again. Keep that image, keep that picture. Throughout my entire adult life, I would find myself in patterns, in cycles. Things would go great. I might be in a good relationship, work going well, finding a pretty good balance of just normal life. But about every 2-3 years, I would really act out. I would act out in a way that would destroy whatever relationship I was in, cause me to lose sometimes some favor at work, oftentimes causing distance between me and who at the time might have been a close friend. I had this pattern, this cycle through addictions, through inappropriate relationships and connections with somebody that I was not in a relationship with. That was the most frequent in my life throughout my adult years, as far as patterns, destructive, chaotic patterns. And it wasn't until in 2016 that it was a fresh start for me, my wife, my family, and I was committed. I was determined to leave all those patterns behind. I did all the right things. We got involved in a local church, and I mean we got involved. My family and I were there 4 days out of the 7-day week, serving in some kind of capacity. Work. I indulged myself in work. Had a great, successful team. If I wasn't at work and I wasn't doing something for the church, then I was either at the gym or I was spending time with the family. So I was always in one of those boxes: ministry, work, fitness, family. I was always in one of those boxes. So I was never at a period to where I was idle. I was always busy. This was intentional because I was committed and driven to not fall back to any of the old patterns. And I'd convinced myself if I submit to this cycle of busyness in the positive ways in my life, I mean, how could it go wrong if I'm committed to ministry, family, work, and fitness? There's no room for anything to really go wrong in my life. So if I stay focused on these things, there's no way I can find myself in an old pattern of destruction. And that worked for the longest period of time that I had as an adult, where I didn't fall back into an old pattern or an old cycle or an old behavior to cause disturbance, chaos, disruption. Our family was looking wonderful. Kids were growing up in a healthy youth ministry at the church. They loved going to church. It wasn't like we were dragging them there. They loved it. My wife and I were getting involved in different ministries. We felt like we were growing closer together. We felt like we were growing spiritually. And we were at a point to where we felt like, man, we're about to be called to something big. Like, if we look at the last 4 years at this point, we're about to be called to something big. Let's say three years, because in 2019, something big did call us. And we answered the call. And we were excited to be a part of a new church plant, a new development. And so we went through training and months of building up to be prepared to lead what was going to be the recovery ministry of this new church. And everything was set up, and we were ready, prepared, and excited to launch March of 2020. Now, we all know what happened. Everything shut down. The world stopped. And I found myself in a place where there was no church to go to 4 days out of a 7-day week that I had been accustomed to. There was no gym to go to. I was still working because I was working from home, and family activities were limited. So a lot of my space, a lot of my time that was filled before with these activities were empty, and I was forced with moments of silence and moments of, what do I do now? I'm not busy. What do I do now? And in that year, I fell into my normal patterns. And it was the most disruptive, the most chaotic that it has ever been in my entire life. Even though I just had the longest period of my adult life with no chaos, no disruption. It was followed by the worst fall I've had as an adult. But I had prayed all those behaviors away. I had stayed busy doing the right things. This wasn't supposed to happen. I think this is so important to share because I see a lot of Christians that pray their habits away, pray their addictions away. I'm not saying this is a bad thing. But what happens is those patterns, those addictions, oftentimes come right back around. It might look a little differently. Sometimes it's worse. But there's a period of time of clarity. There's a period of time of being a new person, new habits, new activities, a new life, new friends. But so many times I see it just disappear and that person go back to who they used to be, or sometimes worse. I've seen it so many times over the years. And it's defeating because once you have tasted that sense of freedom and being released from the bondage of the things that you have been imprisoned to all these years, once you've experienced that, you know it's real. But when you fall back, it's like, okay, if that didn't work, nothing will. I'm a lost cause. I'm hopeless. And I was experiencing some of that in the middle of my mess in 2020, so much so that I was burning bridges. I was determined to do so much damage that recovery was impossible. I was committed to my sickness. I remember saying things out loud like, I'm tired of being this person on stage at church, or I'm tired of being in these classrooms at church. I'm tired of being that person when this thing over here is all I want to feed. This dark, bad student in the corner of the class that's been quiet. Right now, all I want to do is feed him. Because that's what I did for so many years. And now he's gone the longest period of time without any attention. And now I've got free space and free time to give him that attention, and he sees that. And so he's acting up. And I did what I've always done before, and that's, okay, just take this. You know what? You haven't eaten in a while, so let's really get you full. Forgive my imagery, but this is the way that it makes sense to me, so I hope it's connecting to some of you in that way. So I'm feeding him. And what I learned to do in my recovery after that, because I did bounce back from that, and it took me doing things that I had never done before. I'd done the praying away. I'd done the God forgive me. I never want to be this way again. I commit my time to ministry and my family and the things that bring positive things in my life. I'm doing all those things. I've tried all of those things. So I had to do things that I've never done before. Because if I fell back into my old sickness and my old ways after doing those things, giving 100% of myself to those things, and here I am in a worse place than what I was before, I've got to do something different. So towards the end of 2020 and towards the into 2021, I really, I learned new behaviors, things that I'd never dealt with before. I learned about meditation. I learned about shadow work. I learned about who that troubled kid was over in the corner. And I learned how to, instead of feeding him, here, take more of this, take this. Let me give you this attention. I learned to have the ability to pull up a chair next to this kid and say, hey man, why are you here? Why do you want to cause so much trouble? Talk to me. What are you thinking? What are you feeling? Why are you here? And what for the first time I learned was the exact reason and the exact purpose behind the noise that this troubled kid was making in the corner all these years. You'd be amazed, maybe not. I was amazed to realize that something that had happened to me before I was 5 years old, in quiet, in secret, that I never thought about again until I was an adult. And even then it was, oh wow, that happened. I didn't ponder on it. I didn't think anything of it. But in the work of facing that problem child, in the practice of letting that problem child reveal what was really going on the inside, I discovered, wow, that mess that happened before I was 5 years old is the reason why I have an urge and I'm drawn to participate in things that carry a high risk if I'm caught, things that are taboo, things that are in secret, that have to be on the hush. I'm drawn to those things in a very negative way. And because of the type of connection that was before I was 5, it's the same type of activity that would bring me that excitement and that type of environment, the secretive, if we get caught, this is all over type of environment. That was 6 years ago. I'm fully aware that at any point I can make decisions to make those behaviors, I can't even say feed the problem child, because he's not begging for attention, because I heard him out. I listened to him. I found out, man, why is he over there making all that noise? And so he's not making noise anymore. And so I can't say that I'm not giving him attention, because he's not requiring attention, but I'm not naive enough to say that I could never go back to those old ways. So I've learned to identify certain triggers, thought patterns. I've set amazing boundaries to where I no longer feel the need just to hear everybody out. I have boundaries to where I will not cross them, because I know in the past I've indulged in things that seemed very innocent, even pure at first, that turned into be something that fed that problem child in the corner. So I set boundaries to avoid ever being in any of those situations. And if some of my internal thought, I know that if I start to get critical of myself and critical of others, I need to stop and I need to do an inventory check on what's going on the inside. And I'm so proud to say here I am, 6 years without even being close to any of the destructive behaviors that caused chaos throughout my entire adult life. I'm so removed from those things. And all of that was possible. And it was only in my life possible when I learned how to pull up a chair next to that problem child and say, man, what's going on? Why are you here? Why do you want to do so much damage? It's just like the kid in the class. And I think by now, most of us, especially teachers, I think we all have the heart and the knowledge to say, man, there's something going on with that kid. I feel bad for that kid. He's not a bad kid. He's got something going on. Maybe it's at home. Maybe it's, on the way to school. He's got something going on. Something. It's not the kid. Something's going on. I think we're aware of that these days. It's no different if you find yourself in these cycles and these patterns. You got that kid that's in the corner of your psyche. And he needs to be heard. He doesn't need to be fed. He doesn't need to be fed. He needs to be heard. And so I think this is important for people who are in cycles, in patterns, who have tried on again, off again in recovery or anything. For me, it wasn't, I quit drugs a long time ago. For me, it was relationships outside of my marriage that were disruptive. And it could be that for you. It could be something entirely different for you. But whatever it is, if you're somebody that found yourself in a place of experiencing freedom by doing all the things that you felt were the right things, praying it away or asking forgiveness and repenting and only getting around those people, the church people, the recovery people, that works. But if you find yourself doing that over and over again, and you know who you are, I've seen it for years. The relapse and recover and the cycle and the pattern. If that's you, then I really want to encourage you to listen to what I'm saying today in this video, because this might bring some things to you, some tools, behaviors, practices that can break that cycle forever. That taste of freedom that you experience in the moments of clarity, that can be your life without that dark cloud over your shoulder of, man, is this going to happen again? Or I know this is eventually going to happen again. You can live free from all of that. And so that's available to everybody and anybody. And the things I'm talking about are larger problems, because that's part of the life that I've lived. So I do talk about addiction. I do talk about infidelity. Some people it's just anger, lashing out. For some people it's shopping. For some people it can be anything. It can be what we consider smaller, more acceptable things. But you can be free from those patterns, behaviors, and addictions also. I don't know if you hear the trucks going around, but I got a lot going on outside. I apologize. But it doesn't have to be some of the major things that I'm thinking of. It could be food. Oh my goodness, we're in America. It's food for a lot of us. I still struggle. So I know what the practices that I learned starting in 2021 up to now, I know how those have changed me completely. Not just to where I'm sitting here saying, I'm different, but everybody in my life, in any corner of my life you go to, and that's the great thing. I'm no longer saying, man, I'm tired of being that guy on stage here and then the guy in the classroom here. I'm the same person everywhere I go for the first time in my adult life. I'm not tired of anything. I'm not exhausted of anything because I'm so busy just being excited about where I am and the road that I traveled to be here and to have the ability and the opportunity to share that knowledge, to share that information, to share that experience with other people that desperately need to find a place of freedom, a place of wholeness. And that's what my work is. That's the Mountain Men work. And so if you're somebody that has tried everything that you've seen work for others, but you can't get off that hamster wheel, for some reason you find yourself back on it, I'd love to encourage you. I am encouraging you to reach out. Get involved in Ridge Collective, one of the workshops, which Ridge Collective gives you access to all the workshops. Just reach out and talk. I'm available. So that's a little bit of my backstory, a little bit of why I feel Mountain Men is so important. Mountain Men isn't the only organization that offers these practices to be able to address that kid in the corner. But that's definitely what we do. And it's definitely something we don't do alone. It's something that we walk hand in hand with one another and through. And it's something we do respectfully and with reverence and with brotherhood. I teach that because it's the path that I took to get to where I am now and where I will be. I'm excited to look 5 years, 10 years down the road and to have a new tools. I don't want to say an entirely different perspective, but just a stronger, more complete set of tools and practices that has taken me from where I am now to where I'm going to be. That excites me to know that I have the opportunity and I will continue to grow. And I will every day continue to become closer to the man that I'm meant to be.